The Beatles' versatility as a musician was one of the factors that made them stand out from both their peers and the majority of other bands throughout music history. During the 7 years that the band spent recording together, all 4 members of the group took turns singing and playing a variety of instruments. The Beatles' musical development led to their curiosity in trying out new instruments on recordings and their frequent role switching between themselves. Though music historian Ian MacDonald made an attempt in his excellent book Revolution in the Head, these factors make it particularly difficult to compile information on who performed what on every single Beatles track. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison were the 3 specialized guitarists in the Beatles. After his mother taught him how to play the ukulele, Lennon began composing songs on the guitar when he was a teenager. Having come from a musical family, McCartney, on the other hand, was a natural self-taught musician. Harrison also mastered the lead guitar role from a young age, applying for the Beatles at the age of 15 by playing the difficult guitar solo from Carl Perkins' song Raunchy for Lennon as they were riding the bus home. McCartney assumed the guitar at Beatles concerts when bassist Stuart Sutcliffe departed the group in 1961 to pursue his passion for painting. As a result, he played the instrument less often. Harrison played lead guitar, Starr handled drums, McCartney played bass, and Lennon played rhythm guitar in the band's iconic lineup. We'll use the same criteria as when figuring out which Beatles vocalist sung the most lead vocal parts in the group to get at the answer to this query. Any kind of guitar part in any song counts towards the total number of songs for the relevant Beatle, including the 3 singles released after John Lennon's death. However, bass guitar is not relevant. Sorry, Paul. One Beatle outperforms the others based on these standards. On an astounding 189 Beatles recordings, George Harrison performed guitar. That comprises 88% of the band's publicly published work. He takes over 50 guitar parts from John Lennon, while Paul McCartney only manages to touch half of Harrison's guitar. To be fair, McCartney did attempt to compensate for his lack of bass playing during the band's first 5 years of recording by snatching guitar parts from Harrison whenever he could, starting in 1966. Long before his songwriting talent became apparent in the late 1960s, Harrison was the band's uncontested lead guitarist and became synonymous with his instrument. Up until 1965's Yesterday, Harrison contributed some guitar work to every song that the Beatles released. The first songs he performed without a guitar were Eleanor Rigby and Yellow Submarine, a year later. All of his original songs with the Beatles include guitar playing by him, with the exception of the B-side The Inner Light from 1968, which he left to a group of Indian musicians. On January 3, 1970, during their last studio session, Harrison played guitar on a Beatles album for his own song, I Me Mine. This was the last time he did so before the band broke up. Harrison performed every guitar part on the song since Lennon had already departed the previous summer. How better to bring his tenure as the group's principal player of the instrument to an end?